Hello, welcome to our first video where we're actually going to be using R. It's so exciting. If you're not excited, get excited because I think you're going to enjoy it. I love it. My dog's excited. You always can hear her in my videos. So we are going to be going over this handout. It basically is kind of like notes while getting you introduced to the program. So this is something great for you to be able to reference if you would like, but essentially I'm going to be walking through it here. So I just logged into R. You have done this. This is what you should see when you get started. The very first thing I want you to do is to look over here in the Files pane, and I want you to create a new folder for yourself that's called Stat 215, okay? So you should see the R history, R, and shared projects. Essentially, this is where all of the files will be that you create throughout the semester, and you're gonna put them in this Stat 215 folder. So when you log into R, that's where you're gonna end up going. So we're gonna start with shared projects. And in the shared projects, you want to go to Bergacre, and you wanna go to My Stat 215. Now this files pane, so there's 4 panes. This files pane is kind of similar to any drive. So it's going to have any project that you have access to, and you can move around in the files just like you can on your computer or on your R drive or N drive. I think it's N drive for students. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select that, and I'm opening it, but what you're going to do is copy it to, and then you're going to move up into your shared projects, into your home. You're going to go to your Stat 215 folder, and you're going to save it in there. Now, when we go back to our home button, because you're not going to be able to work off of mine, when you go to your home button and your Stat 215, there's your file. First thing, easy peasy. So let's go over that one more time. Home. When you get in here, you're going to make a new folder. So go to the new folder option and type in Stat 215. Then you'll go to shared projects, you go to my folder, Stat 215, and today we're working on basic terms. So you're going to select this, go to more, copy to, and then you move up to the home file or the home location, just like you would do in a drive, Stat 215, and we already have it in here, but that's where you want to do, and you want to click save. Okay, done with that. File pane, something that you're going to be able to upload to Blackboard. So if you don't have this snipping tool, I use this snipping tool, but I ask you in the Blackboard project, for example, to show me a picture or screenshot of the file pane. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do a file and then save as, and I'm going to save this just to my desktop, and I'm going to call it the file pane. Okay? So let's remember that, and then we're going to move on, and I'll show you how I'm going to use that in just a minute. Okay, so this is the environment window, and in this environment window, we're just going to stay really on the environment tab, or environment pane. So when we create things, it's going to be loaded into this environment window, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Here is going to be our Markdown window, and so this .rmd, that is the extension that we'll be using because we're using R Markdown files, just like you have a Word document and it's .doc, or if it's a PDF, .pdf, we're looking for those .rmds because that's where we're going to do our analysis. So you can see in here in this Markdown pane, when you type things, they have different colors. As the semester progresses, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but essentially this first part is going to be your header, just like a header in a Word document, and you can change your name to be your name, and you can change today's date to be the actual date. And then when we knit this, it's going to come out to be a Word document because it's on top there. So then this is going to be when we do our knitting. It will always knit even if y'all have errors in your code, which is a good thing for you. Next, we have some packages that we'll use. So packages are those things that essentially have information or a template or the code that we're going to access to be able to do the analysis that we want. So you can think of it as kind of like an add-on. You know, sometimes when you have your web browser, you need an add-on to play videos. So this is kind of the same thing. It's an add-on to what we're doing. So I just loaded that, and to load that, I highlighted the code, so library and then mosaic inside, And then I use the shortcut keys, which is Control Enter. Now, you don't have to use the shortcut keys. You can see up here in the run option, you can do run selected lines, but then you can see that those shortcut keys are Control Enter. And if you wanted to run a whole chunk, you could use these arrows, but these are options if you don't want to use the shortcut keys. So essentially all we've done so far is created a file folder with stat215. You saved this file, which is mine, into your own personal RStudio server location, and now we've loaded in a library. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to load in the data. So I'm going to highlight the code and I'm going to do Control Enter. Again, that's that shortcut keys. Now I want you to see in the environment window, now you see we have something loaded, and that's going to go in the environment window. So we know all of the things that we've created essentially in our project. So we've made a project, we've just added in GVSU, and that is a new object essentially. So it goes in the global environment windows because anything that you create will be located in there. Okay, with me so far? So we just loaded in a data set. You can see this is the location of it, just like you have a location on your computer. So it's a gvsu.csv file. So over here, you can see if I click on this, it actually is going to open a new tab in my Markdown pane, and it shows you the data. So it shows you the different variables, and then it shows you, because this is GVSU, essentially you can intuit that this is GVSU students. So it shows you all of the variables, and remember that one row is an observation. So if you were going to add yourself, you would become a row because you're an observation, and everything in that row would pertain to you. So maybe your sex is male, age 20, sophomore, etc. Okay, I think that's senior. Now, we have the data read in, we can see the data. Now, a couple of things. When you want to know the variable names, this code right here, names, and then GVSU, that will give you the variable names. So I'm going to do my shortcut keys, Control Enter, and you can see it gives you the variable names. That is very helpful because in R, you have to do the exact capitalization and spelling that's shown in your data set. So that's how you can figure out what the names are. You see it also shows down here in what's called the console window. Now, for y'all, we're not going to use this a ton because you can actually write code down here, but it doesn't really change the color and it makes it very hard to program and save that. So we're not going to utilize that. You also can adjust the size of these windows if you would like. If you want more room in your console window, or if you want more room this way, you can adjust it. Also, you can clean up this console window. So a lot of times when I start a new session, if I know that things have been going well, I'll push this little broom and clear the console so I'm just starting fresh. Okay, so that's basic information about R that's very helpful. The next thing is, sometimes it's valuable to know what type of variable you have, and throughout this whole unit, we talked about some variable options. So in the project, I'm going to ask you what the variable type is, if it's categorical or quantitative. Now, for some of you, it's easy to open the data set and figure out if it's categorical or quantitative, but sometimes you might not be sure what R is viewing it as. And so this one, type of, and then in parentheses, the data and a $sign and the variable. If I run that, it will tell me the variable type. So for example, I do this, it says double. That's essentially a way for it to describe a quantitative variable. So if you want to figure out what type of variable you have, you would start with the data, and then the $sign says, do it for this variable. So it's data, $sign, variable. So I could switch, for example, and do year. So that could be kind of a confusing one. Does it mean the year they were born? That would be quantitative. Or is it the year they are in school? So if I do that, you can see its character, which is categorical. And I can verify that by going to the GVSU data set, and I see year here is classified as freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So that's how you tell what type of variable it is and the variable names. We're going to get into more nuances very slowly as we progress in the semester. But for right now, I want to show you how you would do your assessment in Blackboard. So we have a new Blackboard, and because of that, we're going to update this video and show you what it would look like to do an assessment for R inside of Blackboard Ultra. So we're going to the basic terms, which you should have already been in there, because it has the project document and it has the video that you're watching right now. Unfortunately, in the past with Blackboard Classic, I had the ability to let you see the questions that were answered that Blackboard could grade. You could see if those were correct or incorrect. Blackboard Ultra, as apparently a upgrade, no longer has that option. Really? So, because of that, even though I give you 2 attempts, really the only reason I'm giving you 2 attempts here is if you submit it and aren't able to see the pictures the way that you want to, so that you can go back in and fix it. Other than that, you're just going to unfortunately have to wait until my grader grades this to see if the multiple choice or multiple selection or true and false, whatever that is, are correct. So I apologize for that, but nevertheless, the next thing we were talking about is being able to upload. So these are kind of essay questions, but you would just do an attachment to upload the picture that you chose. So like, for example, I have the GVSU Save flyer. I could choose that because I don't have the picture because that video is not current. Anyway, so I put that in there, done. You can look at it, you can delete it, and then once you submit, you can review your assessment and see if the pictures are showing up correctly. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, happy coding.